Welcome to another episode of Lux Saigon. Carla and Nick meet up to talk about a challenging topic, the dark night of the soul. What is this, you ask? They tried their best to describe in the interview, but more or less it feels like when your current sense of self is dying while your new evolved self awaits to emerge. Kind of like a cocoon phase where a caterpillar awaits metamorphosis into a butterfly. Well, I hope that tripped you out to say, enjoy the episode.
Do you think that because look, this happened with me and my cats. I befriended Goggins first, and Simba didn't trust me yet. Uh, but then one day I took a nap on the couch, and then I just found Simba and Goggins both were sitting on my chest, like just hanging out with me. So I was like, I'm just wondering, how did Simba know that it was safe to hang out with me if we didn't build rapport yet? Did Goggins just tell her like, hey, come hang out with this human?
Well, yeah, it's just like you telling your friends, hey, that person's probably not the best person to hang out with, you know. But
Mm,
it's also, think, I think it goes probably way deeper than what I'm even saying. But like the five, let's just say, like college style learning styles. You know what I mean?
mm,
And so you have five different learning styles, and each person is specific. So if you can hit at least three of those, which is what you're talking about, it's your own vibe you're putting off,
mm.
the feeling, the sight, seeing what the cats are obviously, and they're also other dimensional, as we know. They are not of this plane. I mean, they are, but anyway, they have a pause in each world, so should we say?
Yeah. It's funny, like one day I was hanging out with Simba, like after she recently was getting like closer to me and chilling with me. She was falling asleep in my arm, and then for a second she woke up, and then she just stared at me like, and I felt like she was saying like, wait, can I really trust you? And then I just answered like, yeah, you can trust me. And then she just stretched her body like, okay, oh, and just stretched her body and took a nap.
Right? And
It's
there's the feels.
yeah,
Extra sensory perception. That's what I was trying to say in one word.
it's awesome. It's like we can
And
like still communicate somehow.
obviously, you know that.
Yeah.
Playing Nick,
Same with babies too. I feel like with babies you can also communicate.
they they know.
Yeah.
That is one of my favorite things, is to go through Costco and meet all the, because I do feel a lot of stuff. So I keep my head down. I go in, get what I'm gonna get. And
Mm,
I'm not trying to, like, I just need to go get my stuff because I feel too much. But
hmm.
every aisle or every so much, there's somebody or a baby or kid, or somebody that always brings me to present.
Yeah.
you know I think that's pretty cool. um that even if we don't consciously do it, that an external thing would come in to help us
Yeah.
level up.
And
I
and and this reminds me that like this year for me has been really challenging. Uh and the most challenging parts have been like around like the month of March, and now kind of like the last month was also pretty challenging. But the cool thing is that in both of those months I was working with kids, and in the moment where I was working with them and like right like teaching English, I felt so present for the duration of that class period. Like they helped me stay so grounded.
blessed.
It's like for those 80 minutes I forget that I even have any dark night of the soul or whatever. I just forget.
Yeah,
It's so awesome. And that's the purpose of this episode right now. What is this dark night of the soul? Oh, but also you had like a prayer you wanted to do, right?
Yeah, I would just like to pray, especially if we're talking about these things, and that I want to come in humility
Mm.
and non-judgment
Mm-hmm.
and truth and clarity and have a clear mind and clear eyes and open heart to be able to speak on these heavier, for lack of a better word, energies that we all experience and feel,
Mm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Dark Night of the Soul is another label, of what maturity, going from one cycle to the next,
Right.
that's putting fear just basically in the title or the label or the name of it. Dark Night of the Soul,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just read the 1500s is when they started saying that. And so, as we know, in our current, I mean, hopefully people know, and if not, if you don't know, now you know, that you, it's what energy you want to feed. It's like what you were talking about the kids, me talking about Costco,
Mm.
your lens of perception, what the distractions are many, right? There's so many distractions.
Mm.
We can sit here and name them all day long, but, and I say but on purpose because I do want to negate what I just said,
Mm.
is that not negate it, but to balance out what talking about the dark night of the soul and circling back. It's the illusion and the perception. It's all optical. It's what lens, what perception, what, is that veiled? Does it have, and there's so much stuff that surfaces when you don't have the tools or coping skills to process. Maybe you weren't taught, maybe it's something, you know what I mean? I'm not
Mm.
saying in it like people aren't doing their part, but if you don't know, how are you going to know till you know?
True. True.
And to each person it's individual.
Mm.
You're not going to have the same dark night as I have the same dark
Right.
night. You're calling it that, for lack of better words.
It's like we have
I think it's life
like
cycles.
we have like different karma, right? Like different things that have been passed down to us from our ancestors or family and stuff. So now it's like
Yeah.
we're healing our entire family line now through us.
That's what, and it goes circles right back to how we walk. It's not, and this is like trauma stuff, but it's not what everybody else is doing. We can sit here all day and go, look at the politics, look at this, look at the, she did this to me, he did that to me. Oh my God, my neighbor did, and get into that hyper perception.
Mm.
Or I think that's where practice comes in. I think I'm finally getting why people put in practice prayer or meditation or going outside and breathing or whatever it is.
Mm.
That however each person, again, that's individual to that person. And there's how many people on the planet? Do you know this answer?
Actually, I don't. I'm guessing over 7 billion, but I don't know actually.
Yeah, so billions of people. I mean,
Mm.
imagine, you want to talk about collective consciousness and things like that. Like in the collective, if everybody's seeing through their own lens, number one, the
Mm.
not connectedness, and then the distortion that we carry in our bodies, and like you said, ancestral, what I know to be true, or what I believe, this is a belief, not
Mm.
knowing, but I like to believe that I learned from this native teaching about the three. Okay, we're at the top of the pyramid.
Mm.
Here's us walking our path. And we have three, which I think it's more, ancestors behind us, and then the future generations ahead of us.
Mm.
You know, but what matters is this point of light where we are right now. And that's what, like, you know, Eckhart Tolle, Be Here Now, or you know, The Power of Now, all of those things. I think that's good practice. Read these, you know, continue to try to evolve yourself. That's a good practice in my opinion.
Nice. And it feels like, yeah, like you're right. This label of Dark Night of the Soul, it sounds like pretty, I mean, like obviously dark, but like, isn't it
World
just
dominated.
like, isn't
That's
the Dark Night of the Soul just like a phase of your metamorphosis? Like,
well, it's
kind
because it's you dying. It's a rebirth. You're
right.
completely in the unknown, and if you're not knowing, then there's confusion sets in, and then it's that ladder.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
It's like, I just imagine like a caterpillar, right? Goes in the cocoon, but it has to
Yeah.
lose its entire caterpillar body before it becomes a butterfly.
That blows my mind.
Like is that just
If
it?
it
Is that just the Dark Night of the Soul? Is that cocoon phase when you're like dissolving your old self?
you have to so like in the shaman stuff, they would actually put people through ceremony and bury them, and you know, put them through the night, you know, with other people's, and that's how they got inducted into the next step, right?
Cool.
You have to face your fears, you know, the creepy crawlies, the dark night, out the wild animals, you're fucking cold, you're naked, you know what I mean? It's how, you know, the boy becomes a man, and you know, and then it's also symbolic, you know, or a woman's first blood. You know what I mean? They're all symbolic. And it's, but like I said, it's what you're going to focus on. The things or prayer. So this is probably a good time for prayer. Would you start us off?
Yeah, how do I start it? I'm not sure.
Well, I've been doing body work for a lot of years, and what for me as a female, and I think we all have male and female characteristics and traits, you know, but as a girl, I do the navel and my heart, you know, because this is where we are, is what feels right to me. My hand sits right there, you know. It's good. Dear God, Great Spirit, thank you for this day. Thank you for your way. Thank you for helping us see, feel, touch, smell, taste all of the beauty and abundance that's around us. We come in humility. We ask to please, your will be done. To the highest. I don't know what to say even in that. You know, is it your highest good? You know what I think with all the information, it's like, how do you even pray nowadays? It's not okay to say Jesus. It's not okay to say God. It's not okay to say every different separation there is. It's fragmented, you know, and it's a common thing that's so simple and right in front of us at all times if we have the eyes and heart and senses to see it. Would you pray, Nick?
Yeah, I want to say thank you to, yeah, I don't know what label to put on it, but just thank you for this metamorphosis. Even though like sometimes I don't understand why I have to experience this, eventually it makes sense. Eventually it's like, oh yeah, that's why. I'm learning how to love myself and just learning how to love just being alive and evolving into that person means I have to lose my previous self that was seeking happiness. And that's painful. That's like, it feels like rehab. So thank you for that. I'm trying my best to learn, even though I'm stubborn sometimes, but I'm trying my best. So thanks.
Thank you. It's good. I thank you for the miracle of our bodies and how they heal themselves.
Mm.
And thank you for our eyes to see in our dreams and all the wonderful teachers that come into our lives and our hearts for our higher growth
Mm.
and involvement. And I come in humility and I pray for faith, trust, and belief, and peace and love, and that people have the eyes to see a higher perception, if that is God's will. Please help rise up people's hearts and their eyes. And release of the physical things that ail us, and pray for healing, universal healing, collective healing. I pray for all of our hearts. And I thank you
Mm.
to all my relations.
Nice. I feel like my
What were
little,
we talking
yeah, I don't know. I feel like my little cats, they're like my gurus now.
right?
They're teaching me
Talk.
how not to chase things.
Oh yeah. That's why you got 2 girl cats, Nick. The sisters is showing you sister love.
Like
And
it's
how a feminine, feline, female, otherworldly, 2 foot in each world work. Because how better to learn than 2 sisters? You know what I mean? Than a mother and a grandmother. You know what I mean? The mix of the different levels. Talk about metamorphosis of like when we were talking about with young girls, and because you talk about dark night of the soul,
Mm-hmm.
there's so many people that weren't nurtured from a seed.
Mm.
There's those things are hard to look at. And then you go, like we're saying, with the young man or the young woman, but I'm speaking feminine because that's where I know, is that, well, not till now, when you're in your, going into my next phase of life, now I know both, more than all, you get taught things. That's the dark night of the soul. To answer the question, to get back to what we were talking about, is I think we go through these rebirths many times.
Yeah.
And even like in biblical stuff, they say like you're innocent until you're 11. We all know children's innocent. You know what I mean? And it's how to keep, for me, it's learning about the world, the worldly things, and being able to maintain a child's heart
Mm.
and not let it jade you, beat you down. You know, I mean, that's unless that's necessary because it's all perfect, right? You know, it is. You know, and we think too much. That's what I've learned too.
Mm.
And what can help people with what we've learned? So what have you learned from your different metamorphoses
Mm.
that on a male perspective that could help?
I think I've learned that like when your mind is telling you that like when your mind is screaming at you, telling you that you can only be happy if you have certain thing, and and you just happen to be in a situation where you can't access that thing,
Yeah.
your mind just starts to like scream like, dude, like you missed your chance to be happy. What did you do? And but you can question that voice. You don't have to believe it, even though in the beginning it might be difficult to not believe that voice because maybe you've believed it for a long time. But eventually you can ask, like, wait, is that voice even correct? Or is it possible that it's wrong?
Yeah. Like
And
you said, the question. It's
and also
good.
like why does it like it's saying that I need that to be happy, but why? Why would it make that argument? And then you can start to look inside, like, why would it say that? So it thinks that something is missing and it thinks that that thing, whatever it is, will fill that void.
Yeah. Make it feel better.
Yeah. But then also, okay, so this thing that I believe is missing, is it possible that I can just give it to myself and I don't have to actually go out anywhere to find it? Is it possible that I could just give it to myself? Right. And then you go down that whole like journey.
It's already what I know is it's already in us. It's whatever
That's
animates us. It's our divine soul, our breath,
right.
our soul, or
It, it,
whatever it is.
it seems like our void, like whatever our void is only as big as we think it is. Because like where is it? Like where is my void? Even if you do an autopsy on me right now, you open me up, where is it?
Ew. So that's why people seek outside, like the womb space. It's inside the womb space. You know, it's like sweat lodge. It's a dark bath is what they call it. You
Mm,
know, and then but it's also they call it the womb space, the void,
mm,
right?
nice.
And so and it's also intention, like I said, all those different learning styles and things that each people brings is that um but what I know to be the womb space looked nothing like that. The womb space to me, it was pink and clear, and there was like you're underwater and there's tubes, and like I literally had to like move a tube over so I could walk through. You
Mm,
know what I mean? So so it's funny, even the interpretation of man's interpretation of the womb space and the actual womb space,
mm,
right? And then it goes to how we walk is what our intentions are, you
yeah.
know? What energy are you bringing in? What are you calling it? I don't want to have that. I don't want to have that burden put on me. And that's why I relate with God and Great Spirit. That's what I call it, because that's what makes sense to me, you know.
Mm,
And known about the programming and I've seen the patterns. So dark night of the soul, things people need to know. For me, it came in phases. Spirit will always prepare you. I was blocked from prayer for 5 years leading up. I had horrible, what I thought to be demonic dreams. I still lived a beautiful life. Beautiful life. So don't get me twisted. But there was another psychic struggle that I was carrying my whole life that my family said, oh, that's crazy. That's where, oh, they're weird dreams and you're, you know. And then that's why I'm so into the native stuff right now and checking out that side of me, because it makes sense. It's in my blood, is it right? And then in the Europeans, back to the Dark Night of the Soul. So the one of the stages also is the inner child. That shit is hard. Like to see what the first 5 energies that came when you're supposed to be nurtured and loved and supported, right? That's what I was talking about earlier. You know, those things that happen to us become a veil because we don't have the tools to process them. Nobody's taught. Everybody's been disconnected to a point that we live in an independent society. You're not counting on your neighbor and I mean, we're getting back to it. You know what I mean? I think that, but that's why I do like to see people in person, and I make a point to go put one foot in front of the other and get out and meet people, you know, and that's just to go out, you know, and to see what my neighbor's going through for real. Not like, hey, how you doing? But how you doing?
Yeah. How are you feeling?
So go back to the Dark Night of the Soul. So there was the inner child stuff, the past life stuff was the hardest. There was the clearing, cleansing, baptism, whatever you want to call it. Things that you think that how you had been programmed your whole life, which you already knew you were a child of God, and you like I had seen all this stuff and had dreams and seen ghosts and different things my whole freaking life. And it was always labeled crazy. I was the weird one. I was and I knew from inside that I was a child of God. That's how I always described it. And so even though I had all of these bad dreams and saw murder ghosts and, you know, like had strange occurrences happening to me my whole life, now looking back, that whole first 44 years was the dark night. We think we're going through it now, but we already did. And what's coming out is that rebirth. It's the things we have not, if for whatever it is, for each person is different. You know what I mean? For their own personal stuff. But what I've gone through was, and things that I couldn't control of my past, my ancestors and things like that. You know, that's another part of it, is to see the truth of the horrors that male and female ancestrally had done to each other.
True.
You know, and it showed where it sits in the body. My friend Janine, one of my blessings, friends that came to me through Owen, and I was having my spiritual experience. He's actually, okay, I would call him a facilitator. It was at a point where I knew I couldn't handle it anymore, and that I had to talk about this with people that understood. So I had started seeking outside of my, you know, and plus God or Great Spirit, whatever source, whatever you want, universe, had done things in my life and slowly started stripping away things that were distractions. And looking back, like I said, the first 44 years were the dark night of the soul. And I think now what's coming now is like you said, a metamorphosis and a new birth. And you know what? Birth is bloody, it's messy, it's dirty. You know what I mean? People crying, babies freaking out, like it's not fun. So to be aware, that's what I would want people to know, is to be aware that in these changes in your life, that every time you're going to have things that are going to come and try to pull the rug out from underneath you. And it's going to feel like it's coming from every direction. And I think it's about learning how to ride that wave. You know what I mean? Right. And that's what maturity is. That's when you start to come out of the chrysalis, or what is it?
I've noticed recently in myself, like how my feeling of like emptiness or having a void, like how it can be reopened sometimes by accident. And
by accident, I think it's on purpose.
True.
That's my
like the way it happens for me is that I will I might have one day where I feel like I feel happy and fulfilled, I feel totally complete, and then the next day I get this idea that, like, dang, this thing that I've been wanting for a long time, I think I could actually have it. That would be so awesome, right? And then in that moment, like a little like ray of hope for happiness in the future appears, and I forget that I'm already happy. And then I go back into this cocoon phase, and I have to rebirth again. And I have and I've been doing that like almost daily now. Just like every day I'm just going back in the cocoon, coming back out, back in the cocoon, coming back out, just doing it over and over again.
So that reminds me of my dad, my grandpa's, you're your own worst enemy, he would say. And if that's not truth, I don't know what it is. So I think it's that being of service, and right. It's funny, the song was saying that it's not supposed to be it's supposed to be different music.
So my cats are like playing under my laptop, and I'm trying to get them out of here. Guys, go play somewhere.
What are they teaching you right now?
Try how to be patient. Hey.
Right.
So yeah, that's been my experience lately.
Speaking of sisters, I have a husky wolf dog, and I'm not trying to do massages, right? And that was the last 20 years. I'm doing something different now. And so, and I don't even know what that is. Like you're talking about, it's all these births, layers.
And I feel like
that's the, that like on Alice in Wonderland, that cocoon picture, how, and it's like, it almost looks like a wasp nest, how it's like papery, the caterpillar coming out. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So that's probably another phase of, so it's going to start off nice. Like, oh, here's some stuff. And then, oh, here, God's going to, Great Spirit's going to show you it's angel or whatever. You're going to have your near-death experience. Somebody's going to, baptism, clearing. Then there's, it showed what, in the first one, showed what I was going to have to clear. But didn't show you the tunnel or birth canal of what the layers and layers and rings 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 of things.
Yeah.
And then to tell you that the answer is so simple.
Yeah.
That it's just to be, like to be in your being. To be present.
And I remember I did ask, like, or I was like, can I please like realize whatever, like happiness, please, like, or like, can I please awaken? And like all of this that's happening, that's exactly what I asked for. But it doesn't, but I forget in the moment. I'm like, oh God, this sucks. It's like, oh wait, I asked for this.
Okay. Yeah, that's where it started. That's another thing. Be careful what you ask for. You just might get it.
Yeah, right.
I was I was addicted to pain pills. I had been trying to get off them every month. Every month I would try.
Mm,
And yeah, I mean every month. And it was a consistent abrasiveness against my energy. So I was high functioning, everything's good, you know what I mean? But it was really something that was treating the emotional woundedness of not knowing how to release the things trapped in my body. And I'm still working on this stuff. You know what I mean? And
mm,
then, so after all of that hard stuff or through it, you
mm,
have those specks of light that we talk about. You
yeah.
know what I mean? Through a veil. Why it's called a veil is because you can still see the light. It's, do you have the lens to see it? You know, and
Mm,
can you control or discipline, I don't like that word, but your mind enough, you know, and be in the present. It's so
mm.
easy to be distracted.
That's true. That is true.
Easy. And if it's easy, it's that's another thing I was taught is anything worth having is worth working for.
Yeah. Ooh, yep. So true.
And your body is your temple. And you know, in one way or another, whether it's, you know, food or sex or pollutants or, you know, pick your poison.
Mm-hmm.
And it's remembering. And I know that's not the right word either, but it's as who you are as a soul. You know, like going back to the breath of just being present. So I thank you for letting me talk about this stuff.
Sweet. I mean, I love to talk about this with you.
I it helps me because oh, my right ear just rang. Oh my
Nice.
gosh. Oh, I still don't get the full extent of it, but when I read something about that when your right ear rings, I think that's like your masculine side.
Uh,
And the ringing is like a vibrational. They say some people, some cultures say it's your ancestors. Some people say, religion say that it's your angels,
oh.
or spiritual says it's your spirit guides. But that's another thing that I absolutely know because I am a witness of
Mm,
all of these things is that we are never alone.
mm,
You're not alone ever. So that's the biggest effing illusion and
mm.
lie of the
True.
dark tendrils in our society is that you're alone because you're not alone. You're never alone. Okay. And you're unconditionally loved.